What is going on, YouTube? I am Germ here. So today, as you guys can see up on the screen, I wanted to talk a little bit about TSM FTX Lost and what this season has kind of been like for him, but also what the future could potentially have in store for him. I know that obviously TSM was in a weird spot this past offseason where I think for the most part they were expecting Doublelift to return. Even Doublelift himself said, oh yeah, I will for sure be playing in 2021 at certain points during the offseason. Obviously he ended up retiring. That left TSM in a weird spot where they didn't have much time to find a replacement, so they ended up calling Lost up from their academy to their main LCS team, and a lot of people saw it as an interesting move. Obviously, Lost was very, very good in academy in 2020, so they expected him to be decent in 2021, and at certain times, Lost has looked good, but he has kind of proven to be the weak link of TSM throughout the season. He has been very inconsistent, and his lows have been pretty low, so he has definitely received his fair share of criticism, backlash, all of that. So we'll get into all of that and more in this video today. Definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content, and consider checking out my Patreon, patreon.com/IamGerm. If you guys want to go that extra mile, help and support me, my channel, and my content. With that being said, here we go. So again, Lost. Something that really stood out to me in terms of Lost season. One, we all know he's not the greatest laner. You know, him and Sword Art, whether it's their synergy, whether it's their playstyle together, whether it's the fact that Lost maybe just isn't very good, and maybe even Sword Art is a little bit washed up and stuff at this point in his career as well, but they have had bad laning stats. Not only bad laning stats, but bad laning phases to the eye test and just in games, just from people watching. You can just see that they don't lane very well together very often. Have they had, leads in lane? Yeah. They got 2v2 kills? Yeah. But consistently, are they getting ahead in lane? Is Lost leaving a lane ahead? Most of the time, especially against good teams, against good bot lanes, it seems like no. But not every AD carry is good in lane. There's the old memes like sneaky in lane and stuff like that. And there's some AD carries that maybe play a little more passively in lane to scale up. There's these AD carries that try and play for 25, 30, 35 minutes and try and win the game that way. But I don't know where he sits at right now, but I know pretty late in the summer split, Lost was sitting at 11th place in terms of damage per minute as far as AD carries go, which also show me that he is not scaling up. He is not being that consistent threat in late game team fights either. So if you're not good in lane, you're not good in team fights, then, what are you really doing as an AD carry? And, yeah, like I said, I think he deserved a shot in the LCS. I think he earned the opportunity. He did well in Academy, and once you do well in Academy, there's only one place to go. TSM was also in a weird spot last year where they were a team that wasn't trying to spend a bunch of money, and with the Doublelift retirement, they were thrown in this really weird spot. But TSM is not in that spot anymore. They have this FTX deal. They have FTX money, and they can go out and make a big splash. Obviously, last offseason, they were still even able to make a big splash. They spent all this money on Sword Art, and I don't think it makes sense to spend all this money on Sword Art to be kind of a mediocre team. And you might be like, oh, well, TSM just finished first place in regular season. How's that a mediocre team? I think they finished first place in the regular season because of the Cloud9 collapse, because of Team Liquid having roster issues. There was a whole lot of stuff going on, and I don't really see TSM as like a top level team right now, this current iteration of them. Even if they won the LCS, even if they ended up winning the championship, I would not have high expectation for this team at Worlds. And again, this is an organization with 7, 8, 9 trophies. They're not playing for LCS titles. I mean, that's great. They are playing for LCS titles, but at the end of the day, it's all about success at Worlds. It's all about trying to get out of groups and even make like a World Semi or something like that. And I do not think Lost is an AD carry that is going to be doing that. But the bigger news here is that we actually have a couple rumors getting out regarding TSM Lost and his future to some extent. We don't have the full picture. We don't have the full story. It's still playoffs. We're not even at Worlds yet, let alone the offseason. But it's time to start talking about this stuff a little bit. This comes from Boss is the Law, one of the rumor accounts out there. He says he'll add what he knows about some of these top teams. Apple, Skeleton, they were all having this conversation. Boss is the Law jumps in, and he says that TSM is actively looking for a Lost replacement. And I do not think that this surprises people. The big thing here is that this is assuming Power of Evil will be able to get his green card, which people do expect. That is the big rumor going around, that Core JJ and Power of Evil will both be getting their green cards, which will open up a import slots for both Team Liquid and TSM, who could both be in the market for import AD carries. And obviously with Sword Art, being from Asia, maybe having some influence, having played in the LPL, having played in the Taiwanese league as well. He has some connections. He might know some people, but he also might be able to attract some of those international top level AD carries over to TSM. And I'm not going to go super in depth into who could be replacing Lost in this video, because I'm going to make videos about that stuff in the future. This is more about the fact that TSM looks more and more to be moving on from Lost, to be kicking Lost. I don't know if they're just going to send him back down to Academy. I don't know if they're going to sell him off. But overall, I do agree with the move. If they do decide to kick Lost, if they do decide to move on from him, I think at the time he was a fine replacement to Doublelift. I think he had earned the spot, and I think TSM is not usually a team that gives a ton of young players an opportunity. They've sold off Tactical, or not even. I don't even know if they sold off Tactical. They've not called up Tactical. They've not called up Johnson. They've had some young players leave TSM and go do pretty well around the LCS. So I think it was about time they actually gave one of their own an opportunity. But I don't think inexperienced players like Lost coming up for the first time should be playing on a team like TSM. I think these guys should be starting on the lower tier LCS teams, on the mid tier LCS teams. And then if they prove themselves there, then they should work their way up to a Team Liquid, a Cloud9, a 100 Thieves, a TSM. Because I think our top organizations should be having mostly solidified talent, mostly, top level talent. I think our top teams should be trying to form like all-star teams to not only win the LCS, but go actually have a chance on the international stage. And I think, the middle and bottom tier teams can be, or should be, developing that next generation of North American talent and then selling them off to the top teams to then, make super teams and go try and actually do something internationally. But right now we're in this weird spot of like TSM spending all this money on Sword Art, signing Power Vivo, having an MVP level in Spica, MVP level player in Spica, and then having Lost at AD carry. That just doesn't make much sense to me. It's not even giving our top teams a chance to go internationally and be good. It's barely even giving them a chance to be successful in North America. Some of the names being thrown out there right now to replace Lost would be Doggo, that they're targeting Doggo. Obviously, he played with PSG Talon at MSI. I do believe he's going to be a free agent this offseason. That would be a very, very big splash. Doggo is an insanely aggressive player. He is also a very, very talented player as well, who I would love to see on TSM. I would be so down for this move. Boss's Law does also talk about Huanfeng and Viper as potential moves, but he's just saying that because they're top-level global AD carries. He's not actually saying that because it's realistic or likely. He's just saying, maybe. Applehead has also talked about Sven being a possibility for TSM as a replacement for Lost, and Cobalt has actually talked about some replacements there with Huanfeng being another possibility for TSM, again, just to pair him up with Sword Art. Again, some different names being thrown around from different rumor accounts and stuff like that, but one commonality between everyone is that it does look like TSM is likely going to be moving on from Lost, maybe kicking him, maybe selling him off, maybe demoting him to Academy. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't expect to see Lost starting for TSM in 2022. I think he's an LCS level player. I just don't think he's ready for one of the top teams in North America. And he's 22 years old. This is not like a 18, 19-year-old guy, coming up. He is 22. He's kind of been in the pro scene for a while. That doesn't mean he can't still develop. Doesn't mean he can't still get good. But I do think it is time for TSM to move on. So I would agree with them if they did make this decision. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you do enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. Do you agree with TSM kicking Lost? Where do you think he's going to end up in 2022? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully catch you guys on the next one. But until then, peace.